Hey, hello, hola everybody. It's Alex Kapitko here, and welcome back to our catching up segment on the Tonic podcast. I hope everyone is doing well, or at least staying semi-sane. I know I'm trying my best, and some days it works, other days it doesn't. Lucky enough that now in Spain I'm allowed to go outside for an hour a day, so I've been, getting out into nature a little bit, getting some fresh air, getting some sunshine, so it's definitely an upgrade. Before we get started, as usual, I just wanted to tell everyone to please let us know what you think by commenting on any of the platforms that you might be using. The comments not only help us improve, but they also help the algorithms in our favor. Also, you guys should definitely check out our episode from last Sunday. We had a guest on who was Mitchell Rosenberg, and it was a fun conversation. And he's a really clever guy, and I think he has a lot of big things going on right now. We may have disagreed on a few things, but I honestly love having people on just to have an open discussion. And I don't know, if you guys have any requests on who we should bring on next, please let us know. So today, I want to talk about a current outbreak that is raising alarm in the United States. Dun dun dun. And it's not the coronavirus, so don't worry. We've already talked about that enough, and I'm sure we will more. But this is a different outbreak, and it's in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a bit worrying. This is a terror that has been nicknamed the murder hornets. And these are pretty damn big hornets that are usually found in Asia, in places like China and Japan. Their official name is the Vespa mandarina, but they go by the name of Long Asian Giant Hornets. And it's a pretty accurate name. They are big. They're about the size of a matchbox. And if you don't have a matchbox sitting around, I'll just tell you, that's big. And from what I'm seeing, they actually, I think, are the world's largest hornet. So this is nothing to joke around about. Now, the reason I'm bringing up these horrifying hornets is because they were first detected in British Columbia, Canada, in the summer of 2019. And obviously Canada is not in Asia, so this is kind of weird. But then, in December of 2019, these hornets were detected south of Canada and across the border in Washington state. According to Washington State University, experts are unsure of how these killers got to North America, but there are beekeepers who have reported that there have been gruesome hive deaths in recent months. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of deaths in these hives. The reason I'm bringing this up is because scientists are warning the Northwest, and I'm going to guess the United States in general, to brace for another wave of these unwanted guests because their life cycles seem to begin in spring. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of these because I don't know about you guys, but if you're ever out at a summer barbecue, usually hornets and wasps are unwanted barbecue guests. But these scare me not only because of their size, but because they can be deadly to humans if they sting an individual multiple times. There are reports out of Asia, and more specifically Japan, where roughly 30 or 40 people die a year because of these. Now, obviously these things need to sting you multiple times to kill you, but clearly they're more dangerous than your typical wasp, right? Now, I know this is a low number, but I still don't like it, It's a scary idea to me, a giant bee the size of a matchbox that could kill you. Now, a Vancouver beekeeper told the New York Times that it felt like having red-hot thumbtacks being driven into your flesh. Now, I've never had thumbtacks driven into my flesh, but that sounds really awful. I'm looking at a picture of one of these things right now, and they don't look like any bees that I've seen recently. According to Susan Kobe, who is a bee breeder with Washington State University, she says they're like something out of a monster cartoon with this huge yellow-orange face. And that is honestly pretty accurate. Now, that being said, obviously the threat to humans is clearly not the critical problem here. They're not that deadly to humans. I mean, 30 or 40 people a year is not that often. But the bigger issue is that they are known to massacre hives of other bees, mainly honeybees. Apparently they can decimate a hive of honeybees in a matter of hours, and they feed the bodies of these honeybees to their young. According to the Washington Post, this is about 30,000 bees in a few hours, which is quite a significant number. And this is a big problem because by now it's pretty common knowledge that bees are dying at unprecedented numbers across the United States. And this has been attributed mainly to the use of pesticides that are lethal to many species of bees, pollution, climate change, predators, and a weird phenomenon called colony collapse. This is basically where people find a hive of bees where only the queen is left with plenty of food and a few nurse bees left to care for them, but everyone else is gone. This is super weird and sounds to me like a ghastly ghost town-like experience. And according to the BBC, between 1947 and 2017, the number of honeybee colonies in the US plummeted from 6 million to about 2.5 million. Also in 2019, researchers from the University of Maryland reported that 40% of the country's honeybee populations died in a single winter between October 2018 and April 2019. This was the largest loss of any kind in the United States. Now, the issue with this is that there are a lot of secondary issues with losing large populations of pollinators in general, but mainly honeybees. There could be a drastic change to the entire food supply chain in the United States, because according to the US Department of Agriculture, honeybees, along with other pollinators, could be responsible for around 1 out of every 3 bites of food taken in the US. That's insane. So think about that. On your plate, 1 out of the 3 things you take a bite on is probably linked to some form of a pollinator. Honeybees and other pollinators also increase the nation's crop values by around $15 billion a year. That's with a B. My point is that in the middle of a pandemic that is leading to supply chain breaks and food supply issues and economic woes, the last thing we need is a bee problem on top of that, because it'll only expedite the problems we're having with our food supply. Now, obviously, these murder hornets have only been found right now in the Northwest and in Canada, but who's to say they won't move? Who's to say that we'll be able to eradicate all of them? And they're only going to compound a growing food crisis in the United States. Washington state scientists are going to search for potential nests and trap the queen hornets in an attempt to track and eradicate the species. And we can hope this will help. I need to make it clear that these may very well be stopped. Some think that they can be eradicated before they spread to other zones. But it is concerning, and could just be another factor towards the tipping point that bee populations may be headed towards. In all, I think people tend to forget about the fragility of our natural world. Something as small and seemingly insignificant as a bee can either make or break our daily lives in a big way. We don't need anything else to make or break our daily lives right now during the time of a pandemic. Maybe this murder bee will wake us up. Maybe it'll put people's attention on the fact that bee colonies are in trouble. What do you guys think? I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. But for now, that's all I have for today. Drew and I will be back tomorrow with what I think is a pretty fun and informative episode on Thucydides' trap and the potential hot war between the United States and China. So until then, have a great day, keep safe and healthy, and we'll see you guys soon.